Welcome everybody, it's Salman. In this video we are going to be talking about more Call of Duty World War II Zombies storyline, because today we got even more information for it. This is our second piece of information that we got so far. The first time we got some was 2 days ago, which actually talked about Maria's journal, and this is actually a continuation off of that. So if you guys haven't watched that, I recommend you do, just for you could be caught up with the story so far, just for it can make more sense. I'll link it if you guys want to check it out, but once you're done there, go ahead and return over here. But anyways, I want to first explain where the information is coming from, and this time around it actually came from Noah J456, and I'll link everything down in the description for you if you guys want to check out the full stream that I actually did this on. But he just got a couple different things. He got some, like I said, continuations of Maria's journal, but he also got something that will also be talking about this, and what we're thinking it's our first in-game look of actual gameplay of at least something. It might be cutscene, might be something else, but we're thinking it is at least in-game, which we'll talk about at the end. But anyways, we're going to first start off with the journal, so let's actually get into this. So this part of the journal is actually written just one day after the one we saw from the other day, because the last one was on June 23rd, but this one's on June 24th, 1943, which is pretty interesting. But it makes more sense if you actually look on the Call of Duty World War II classified website and you punch this in. If you guys want to do that, the code is 80218. But if you guys do want to do that, you could actually go through her journal and you would see the previous pages. But if you keep turning it, you'll just go to these parts. So it's just the next couple of pages. So it makes sense that the next day. But anyways, I'm going to be reading you guys off a part of it. Then I'll talk about it, just say what I could say, kind of explain anything I can. And then after that, we'll read the next part and of course continue that till it's completely done. So it starts off saying, I've received an interesting letter, a response from Major Hank Riddle of the newly formed MFAA. Apparently the program has been rubber stamped by the president himself. After weeks of being deferred through pencil pushers and secretarial layers, my inquiry is finally lying on the desk of someone who may be able to make a difference. So this part is pretty interesting. There's nothing really to say except that we got introduced to a new character that we've never heard of Major Hank Riddle, or however you say his last name. I'll never say this guy's name properly. Anyways, that's besides the point. But he is going to be the guy that we're thinking is in charge of the MFAA. And if you guys watched my video from yesterday, you would kind of maybe know what this is, but what it stands for is Monuments, Fine Arts, and Achievements Program. And this was a real thing, and what this was originally made for was to go and get all the monuments, fine arts, and achievements, things that were related to history, and go take them back from the Nazis. So that's pretty much what it was, and was, like I said, a real thing. Besides that, there's really nothing else to point out. The main part is that we just got a new character introduced. But anyways, we'll go to the next part, and of course we'll do the same thing. Major Riddle is direct and to the point. He expressed clear interest in the artifacts that Claus has alluded to, and pressed me for details. Unfortunately, my brother is less interested in these medieval museum pieces in his captured attempts at discerning the metaphysical properties. I have highlighted a few pieces of the archaeological evidence Claus managed to share in his notes, in hopes that will be enough to entire Riddle into action. It is a paltry list, I know. So this one really doesn't say anything really special. It does talk about how Claus, who is her brother, that is really just looking at these artifacts, just looking for their metaphysical properties. That is what his most interest is in. And from what we know, what he's actually looking at, one of them at least, is Barbossa's sword, which of course I talked about in the last video, so I'm not going to go over that again. But that's what we know pretty much. Is again, nothing really said here besides what I pointed out. I don't think there's anything special here. There may be more, especially when it talks about the metaphysical properties of it. It may have more importance later on, but as of now, there's really nothing else. So we're going to go to the next part, and of course we'll come right back. 6 years ago, the Metalberg mines uncovered a chamber below the salt mines, buried in the roots of Kefeizer Mountains. It contains altars and is adorned with remarkably preserved medieval carvings. So this part, it actually gets much more juicy at this part. So it talks about the Metalberg mines, and these things are actually located in Balsberg. I can't remember how to say this place's name. And so are the Kefeizer Mountains. And of course, this relates to that Barbossa legend and all that stuff I talked about in my previous video. But just to do a quick reminder on what it is, it's just pretty much that Barbossa, who was the king and emperor of Rome, who just is not actually dead, as of course the legend says, but he's just asleep, and of course he'll come back and bring Germany to its beautiful state when it was an empire and all that stuff. That's pretty much how the legend goes. So it might be relating to that. We're not exactly sure if it's going to go along those exact lines, or it's just going to be something slightly different, which it's probably going to be the case, because they're going to say that the ancients, or because this was in medieval times, which is kind of similar to certain things, but they're going to say it all happened back then during the medieval times, and they didn't really know what it was, and they just made this legend up. But now today, in the age of science, you could actually explain what these things are and use them for different purposes, which sounds really, really cool. But anyways, we're going to go into the next one, and of course we'll come right back. A handpicked band of financial Nazi thugs, a group known as a Hanbi, took over the mines shortly, threatening and sealing off the area. Nobody was allowed in or out of Middelburg. Claus believes the chamber to have been the chamber dedicated to the Emperor Frederick I, King of Germany and of the Roman Empire, and it has been untouched for 800 years. Now, I kind of talked on this stuff again in my previous video. I don't know why. I don't like saying I talked about this in my previous video, because for some reason this journal entry is kind of repeating a lot, and I'm not really a fan of it. But I don't know, I guess there's that stuff again. It's just relating more to those legends that I talked about earlier, and I'm just going to go over this part because there's really nothing to point out besides that. But this last part is where it gets really interesting. So I'm going to read it, and of course we'll come right back. There is something in the chamber, some relic from the era which the leader believes to be sacred and powerful, a tool that is important to what led to the Fourth Reich, apparently quoting from Anführer. I must confess I have refrained from communicating this vile bit to the Major. The Unhirbi have always been something of a joke in the Allied intelligence circles, chalked up to their leaders fantastical superstition and welcomed waste of Nazi time and money. This is why I believe even the OSS has been hesitant to engage in such obvious nonsense. I pray that the hint of the medieval treasure will be enough to bring the MFAA to my door. So that was the last part, and this one is by far the most interesting one, because we hear things about this sacred and powerful relic. We also hear things about the Fourth Reich, which is really weird, because the thing is, there's no such thing as a Fourth Reich, and it is in quotation. I should have made that clear, but when it says Fourth Reich, it's in quotations, and it's apparently quoted from the Anführer, which is just pretty much Führer, or the leader, and that was mainly used for Hitler. So I'm not entirely sure what this is, who exactly the Anführer is, and exactly what the Fourth Reich is, because we still know that the Nazis are still around, because she mentions the Nazis right after that, because she says is a welcome waste of Nazi time and money. So that is mentioned right there, that there are still Nazis, and the Third Reich has to do with Nazis, but for some reason there's a mention of a Fourth Reich and the Anführer, which I'm really confused, and this is probably, like I said, the best part of it, and I just don't know. But another thing to note is that she actually kept this a secret from Major Riddle, or however you say his name, and this may become important when we actually get into the map, because she might have kept the secret from him, but then when they actually get there, this sacred relic and powerful relic may actually cause the zombies to rise and all that stuff, and then of course they'll be pretty upset with her and all that stuff. But that's pretty much it for it. It does get really interesting with the mention of a Fourth Reich and an Anführer, which, like I said, I'm not entirely sure what it means, but it's just pretty interesting to see that last part. Now, there's one other thing I want to look at inside this journal before we move on to the little clip that we have, which is so cool. And it's actually a letter that's kind of from her brother. We see this on the last page, and there's a picture of some ugly looking thing that's supposed to be human, and it says stuff under there, but I do not believe that's English, so I'm not entirely sure. It's even hard for me to see, so if that does get translated and if somebody could actually see it, then that'll be great. But at the time, I just cannot figure out what it says for the life of me. First things first, let me read off what her brother said. I do not know when I'll be able to contact you again. I hope that you find it in your heart to forgive me. If not, I hope you will pass along my story as a contrary tale. I hope that you will fight whatever horrors are hidden beneath the mountain. BGK. And this is pretty interesting because we're pretty sure this is from her brother. Obviously, it looks like his handwriting from the other letters we've seen from him. So I'm pretty darn confident. Also, there's a K and his name is Claus, so we're pretty sure that's it. But this part, for the most part, is not that interesting until it gets to the end. Until the part where he says, I hope that you will be able to fight whatever horrors are hidden beneath the mountains. And I'm pretty sure what he's talking about here is obviously zombies, but the mountain he's talking about, and of course that are hidden under there, because that's where the legend says that's hidden under these mountains. But the Kiefer mountains that we talked about earlier, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, but that's the thing I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about too. But besides that, there's really nothing else in that little spot. Of course, we do see a picture of these tombstones, at least that's what it assumes. It says a couple things at the top. It says knocked over by a farmer in 1923, and after that we see standing stones on the hillsides of Mittenberg, possible ties to the salt mine chamber, lightning rods, which again I'm not entirely sure what any of this means, but that's the last part of the journal that at least we have seen so far. But we're probably going to get more to this journal. This by far is not the most interesting one. It was mainly just repeating what she says from the previous one, but there's nothing really interesting, like super interesting thing worth noting here besides the Fourth Reich. Fourth Reich is probably the most interesting thing for me. But anyways, now that the journal's out of the way, I want to show you guys this clip, and then after the clip, we will come back and talk about it. So credit to NoahJ456 for that, because he's the one who was sent this, but he uploaded it to Twitter, and of course everybody was able to get it from there. So credit to him. Of course, his video is still linked down in the description if you guys want to check it out. But anyways, it's still pretty interesting. I would like to say more about this clip, but there's really nothing I could say about it. I just wanted to share it with you guys for anybody who had missed it. But anyways, that's about it for this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and thumbs up. If you guys want to stay tuned for content similar to this, go ahead and subscribe. But I'm going to go, and I will catch you guys on my next video.